Let's begin with a truth that most people find hard to swallow. We all know that you can't change the past. It's set, it's done, it's happened, it's out of the way. And, you can't really control the future, or can you? The thing that most people think is that they have choice in this moment here in presence. But you can't change what the universe is giving you in this moment. This exact experience has already been set in motion. You're facing a result of thousands of causes, some of them yours, many of them inherited. They're patterns of thought, emotion, karma, reaction, all playing out in real time. And this is really, part of the key of this work. It is looking at these patterns, and I'm going to use a metaphor here of these patterns being gods that rule us. And in some respects, they are this sort of idea of a god. We have a pattern of behavior that is controlling us rather than us being in control of it. And this is where things like hypnosis and these sort of other unconscious therapies are really powerful in helping us reprocess and change these patterns of behavior. So you can't really change what is in this moment. And if we really think about it, maybe you're at the fridge and you're hungry and you want to eat something and you choose something over something else. So you're really making a conscious choice, or is that choice actually coming from things like what your body needs, or a craving for comfort food, or this, that, or the next thing? Is it coming from actual hunger? Is it coming from a place of boredom and just eating to fill time? There's all these different potential patterns that are playing out in behaviors that we largely don't have a lot of control of. So where do we have control? Well, you can change what moves through you in a pattern. You can change the pattern that you're embodying in real time. The energy that you're living from, the way your inner world meets the outer. And when you do, something remarkable happens. The future begins to shift, not because you're forcing it, but because you're no longer feeding the old cycle. You're starting to look at this pattern of behavior and go, how could I do this differently? What else could I do? How can I pull apart and dissect this pattern and see what's worthy of keeping and what needs to be given a new generative energy, a new life force, so that I have different choices going forward that are more aligned with where I want to take my life. And this is about becoming a conscious creator in your life. And this work, really, we need to begin with learning to watch something called the two screens of reality. And this is a form of presence. And this idea of these two screens, or these two different levels of awareness, is as old as time, I think, really. It's been taught by various different teachers through the ages. But the first of these screens is the outer screen, the land of men, the physical world, the sensory field, what you're aware of in this moment through the five senses of sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. It's the space around you, the people you interact with in this moment, the events that are unfolding in your visible reality. This is where the patterns are playing out in this moment. But there's another screen that's just as important, and that's the inner screen, or the land of the gods in the Egyptian myths. And I'm going to use this as a metaphor here, but don't take this literally. I'm talking about patterns. I'm talking about conscious control and analysis and attention and these sort of things. I'm just using this as a metaphor. So this is the realm of image, of memory, of symbol, of emotion, of energy and archetypes. It's the landscape behind your behaviors, beneath those actions that you're playing out. This is where the true causes live. This is where your beliefs are taking shape and being reinforced, and where your reactions are born. Reaction, repeated action. And in this metaphor, I'm going to use the myth of Osiris. And Osiris is the god of the cycle of life and death. So he's the rhythms. So this is where Osiris lives. And until both screens are open to you and you're aware of both the external world that you're acting in and the internal landscape that you're acting from, you're not truly in presence. And at this point, if you're not aware of both those screens, you're just watching the surface. If you're just bathing in the sensations of presence in the external screen, you're not really in presence. You're just watching the surface. The roots are still alive underground. Now, as I said before, Osiris is a god, yes, but more than that, he's a pattern. He's the structure that holds your world together. He's the cycle of life and death. This is one of his aspects as a god, the rhythm you live by, often unconsciously. And he could be seen as the identity that you wear, or the habits that you trust, and the systems that you run on autopilot, the version of you that you've learned to keep alive. He's the patterns that are ruling your life. Osiris is memory and motion. He's the internal framework that allows you to function. And in the beginning, he brings stability, he brings order, he brings form. These patterns were originally installed and designed to help you, or to try and help you live in this world. Even the sort of trauma patterns, PTSD and things like that, they come from a place of trying to protect you. But over time, the patterns become rigid. The more they're played on automatic loops in that cycle of living, they get ingrained, and we stop being aware of them and start just allowing them to control our lives. So we're ruled by the gods. And what once protected you begins to limit you. The form becomes a shell, a coffin of repetition. And deep within, there's an uneasiness of, my life's not going the way I want it to. I wish I didn't do this thing. I keep repeating this problem. This loop happens again and again. And something begins to stir. And this stirring is really a sort of signal from your deeper self that the pattern is no longer serving you. And that's when you reach a threshold of discomfort or frustration with your patterns, with your behaviors. And at the point when you're ready to truly change, when you're at that place where what was once comfort in routine and patterns is no longer serving you, when you're willing to let truth burn through everything that's false, that's when you invoke Osiris's brother, Set. Now, Set's not a villain, he's the adversary. He's the force that brings presence through disruption. He's confrontation, he's chaos, he's fire. But only when you invite him. So Set doesn't come to punish, he comes to break what is no longer aligned. He comes to test the structure, to expose the lie inside the loop. And when Set strikes, the pattern shatters. Osiris is cut to pieces. And we can think about this as like, Osiris being the sun. And when it sets on the horizon, you get these rays of light and the sun evaporates into nothingness and goes into the land of the dead. So when Set strikes, the pattern shatters, as I say, and the old pattern gets cut to pieces and strewn across the land. And this is the moment that this pattern that you're looking at on the inner screen, that you're playing out on the outer screen, you start to analyze, like, what's going on here? How could I do this differently? What are the bits that are serving me and what are the bits that aren't? And this is really the moment that the role that you were playing doesn't fit you anymore. It's the moment that life no longer mirrors who you feel you are inside. And you might feel it as loss, as frustration, as crisis, as disorientation. But underneath all of that, something's happening. The gods being dismembered, the patterns being pulled apart. It's no longer viable. And at this point, we need to do the weighing of the heart ceremony. So as Osiris gets killed, as any pharaoh, any person in the Egyptian system gets killed, they have to place their heart on the scales of truth. And the heart is balanced against the feather of Maat, truth, harmony, and justice. And you ask, is my heart light? Is the life I'm living true? Am I carrying what's real or just the residue of an old story? And in respect to patterns of behavior, is this pattern, is the heart of this pattern coming from a place of light or a heaviness of darkness? Is it helping me live a life that's true to who I am? Is it carrying within it what's real, or is it just the residue of an old story? And if the heart's heavy and you aren't able to do this process, the cycle returns, the pattern repeats. If the heart's light, however, and you've at that point got an opportunity to gather the parts of the old pattern and build something new. And this is where Isis and Anubis come in the myth. So Isis is the mother, she's the sacred feminine, the mystic, the healer, the mother of rebirth. And she's the one who remembers. So she puts a new member on Osiris. She remembers him. She doesn't try to restore the old god. She gathers only what's true in the fragments of his body that were strewn across the lands. And with her comes Anubis, the guide of the souls. So he's the one who knows how to walk between the worlds, between the conscious and unconscious, between the outer and inner worlds, between death and becoming. And together they begin the great inner task of recollection. Recollection. This is not nostalgia, it's a remembering in a literal sense. They put the pattern or the god back together, piece by piece, memory by memory, symbol by symbol. And it's a slow, sacred work. It can't be rushed. But even once the pieces are gathered, there's something missing still. Osiris's phallus is missing. So he has no generative power left. That pattern it's taken its seed of energy out. It has no means to act, create, or move forward because the old force of action based on repetition, ego, or will is dead. So at this point, Isis does something miraculous. She creates a new phallus from a reed, a plant, a living thing. Now, reeds are rooted in waters, so this is something rooted in the unconscious waters. And reeds bend rather than break. They're flexible. So this new creative force that she gives Osiris, this god, is flexible, alive, and attuned. It's not built from control, but from a place of presence. It's not rigid, but receptive to the current of life. So she's essentially building a new pattern of behavior that has a different creative energy in it. And it's from taking apart that old pattern. We have to dissect the pattern that we're playing in this moment in time, and whatever it happens to be, and go, where does this come from? So if we go back to the fridge analogy, if you're standing there and you're maybe going for the chocolate mousse or something like that, you can ask yourself, where is this coming from? Is this coming from a place of actual nutrition? Do I need what's in this chocolate mousse? Or is this coming from a place of comfort? Is this coming from a place of, truth and justice and harmony in the weighing of the heart? Or is it coming from a place of need, of desire, of this negative aspect of emotion? And when she does this recreation of the new pattern of the god Osiris, the resurrection of the pattern, she then mates with him, and in this union between the reassembled god and her as the intuitive feminine, Horus is conceived. And he's not Osiris reborn, he's the next pattern, the new aeon, the transformed pattern. He's the child of memory and awareness. So this is the birth of this new pattern into the world. Now you've created something that the next time you're at the fridge and you see that chocolate mousse, you can maybe go, no, what does my body actually need here? Well, it needs energy. It needs nutrients. So maybe you go for the apple instead of the chocolate mousse. And maybe over time you stop buying the chocolate mousse at the supermarket and wasting your money on that and start buying fresh fruit and vegetables instead. You know, whatever it happens to be, I'm just using this as an analogy. I'm not saying that you should go and buy fruit and veg over chocolate mousse. Go and buy chocolate mousse if you want. It's up to you. But the point here is we gain a new pattern of choice. And that really takes us to a space where in the future, you know, if one of our goals is to be healthier and stronger and have more good quality energy throughout the day and have less peaks and troughs in our energy and things like that, and these sort of shifts in little patterns that we are noticing playing out by being aware of those two screens of the external world and the internal world at the same time as we're acting in that world, we start to be able to create these patterns that give us that choice for tomorrow. And then we can start to program our future and get what we need to happen or what we want to happen for us instead of being stuck, ruled by these old gods. So this new birth of this new god, this new Aeon of Horus, this is the you that's passed through fire. You've gone into the fire and burned away that which is not worthy and brought out a new god, a phoenix rising from the ashes. And it gives you the ability to see more clearly. And he's the one who flies above the story, the falcon. He's the one who holds the eye. Because the more you do this process, the more you take control and watch these two screens and look at the patterns that you're using and making in life, the more you start to be able to see both screens. And this is really the gift of presence. You know, the more we work with this sort of process, the more we become aware of what's going on, as I say, in both of these screens, and the more choice we have over how we're programming our future. And it's all patterns. So this gives you the ability to see what's happening around you and what's happening through you. And we could look at this as a form of sort of spiritual vision. It's a symbolic awareness. It's mastery, it's self-mastery. And this is the real creation of the alchemy of presence. This is the inner journey. Yes, it's encoded in myth here, but this is how the gods or the patterns are born in human lives. So you go through a process, you notice the pattern, you notice the god, you notice Osiris, you invoke Set, you pull it apart with your awareness, and you let go of the things that aren't serving you by weighing the heart of that pattern, of that god. And then you gather the pieces that are true, that pass the weighing of the heart. And then you build a new pattern and you rise. It's a form of initiation. It's memory recovered, symbol remembered, patterns reborn. So let it burn, let it break, then gather, create, and rise.